The story begins aboard the Odyssey, a luxurious spaceship that glides silently through the vastness of space. Its design is breathtaking, with smooth curves and shimmering surfaces that catch the light of distant stars. Inside, the VIP lounge is even more impressive. Large windows stretch from floor to ceiling, offering passengers a view of the universe outside. Nebulae swirl in colors so vivid they seem unreal, and constellations twinkle like diamonds scattered across the black canvas of space. The air hums softly with the sound of advanced machinery working effortlessly to keep everything running smoothly. In one corner of the lounge, a young woman named Aaliyah Johnson sits comfortably in a plush chair. At just 17 years old, she carries herself with confidence far beyond her age. Her dark skin shines under the soft glow of the lights, and her short curly hair frames her face perfectly. She wears simple but stylish clothes, a fitted jacket over a casual top, paired with jeans and sneakers. Around her neck hang gold hoop earrings, adding a touch of elegance to her otherwise relaxed appearance. Aaliyah leans back in her seat, letting out a contented sigh as she gazes at the stars. This trip was supposed to be special. Her father, Marcus Johnson, had arranged it as a gift for her birthday. As the CEO of a major tech company, he often traveled for work, leaving little time for family vacations. But this time, he made sure to join her, promising an unforgettable experience aboard the Odyssey. For Aaliyah, it wasn't just about seeing the wonders of space. It was about spending quality time with her dad. As she sips a fizzy drink from a glass tumbler, her thoughts drift to the excitement of the journey ahead. They were scheduled to visit several planets, each more unique than the last. Some had oceans of liquid methane, while others boasted towering crystal formations that refracted sunlight into rainbows. It was also surreal, like stepping into a dream. Yet despite the beauty surrounding her, something felt off. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, but there was a subtle tension in the air, almost imperceptible. Her moment of peace is interrupted when a man approaches her. He introduces himself as Ryan Carter, a junior steward tasked with assisting passengers in the VIP section. His uniform is crisp with shiny buttons and a name tag pinned neatly above his chest pocket. Despite his professional demeanor, there's a hint of unease in his expression. He clears his throat before speaking, his voice trembling slightly. "Excuse me, miss," he says, addressing Aaliyah. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I need to ask you to vacate this seat." Aaliyah blinks, surprised by the request. She looks around, noticing that the lounge isn't particularly crowded. There are plenty of empty seats nearby, making his demand seem unnecessary. Confused, she asks, "Why? Did someone else reserve this spot?" Ryan hesitates, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "Well, yes," he admits after a pause. "Another passenger claims this seat belongs to him. He says it was promised to him during booking." Aaliyah frowns, pulling out her ticket from her pocket. She double-checks the details, confirming what she already knew. Her reservation included access to the VIP lounge. There was no mistake. Turning back to Ryan, she explains calmly, "My ticket clearly states I'm allowed to sit here. I don't understand why I should move." Ryan nods quickly, trying to appear understanding. "I see your point, miss, but—" He trails off, glancing over his shoulder nervously. That's when Aaliyah notices another figure standing a few feet away. It's a middle-aged white man dressed in expensive clothing. His sharp suit contrasts sharply with the casual attire of most passengers. His arms are crossed, and his lips pressed together tightly, forming a thin line of irritation. "This is Gregory Hayes," Ryan continues, gesturing toward the man. "He's been traveling with us for many years and expects certain privileges. We want to ensure our long-term customers feel valued." Aaliyah raises an eyebrow, unimpressed by the explanation. "So what you're saying is, because he's a regular customer, I should give up my seat, even though I paid for it too?" Ryan doesn't answer directly. Instead, he shifts uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. "If you could just cooperate, it would make things easier for everyone." At this point, Gregory steps forward, his patience clearly wearing thin. "Look," he says, his tone dripping with condescension. I don't mean to cause trouble, but I was assured this seat would be mine. I didn't expect to deal with complications. Aaliyah feels a surge of anger rising within her. Complications? Was that what she represented to him? She takes a deep breath, forcing herself to remain composed. Sir, I have every right to be here. If there's an issue with the booking system, that's not my fault. Maybe you should take it up with the staff instead of harassing me. Gregory bristles at her response, his face reddening. Harassing you? I'm simply asking you to respect the rules. Is that too much to ask? Before Aaliyah can reply, Ryan interjects again, his voice firmer this time. Miss, if you don't comply, we'll have no choice but to involve security. Please, let's avoid any further conflict. Now Aaliyah understands the true nature of the situation. They weren't asking politely. They were threatening her. All because she dared to occupy a seat reserved for someone else based solely on their status as a frequent traveler. It stings not just because of the unfairness, but because of the underlying implication that her presence somehow diminished the value of the lounge. She considers arguing further, pointing out how ridiculous the whole scenario is, but then she remembers who she is and who her father is. With a quiet determination, she pulls out her communicator and dials a number. After 2 rings, a familiar voice answers. Hey, sweetie, comes the warm greeting. It's Marcus Johnson, her father. Despite his busy schedule, he always makes time for her calls. How's the trip going? Aaliyah wastes no time getting to the point. Dad, there's something I need to tell you. And with that, she launches into an account of the incident, describing every detail with clarity and precision. On the other end of the line, Marcus listens intently, his expression growing darker with each passing second. When she finishes, Marcus speaks only 2 words. Don't worry. What happens next changes everything, not just for Aaliyah, but for everyone involved. After ending the call with Aaliyah, Marcus Johnson immediately went into action. Sitting in his high-tech office back on Earth, he stared at the holographic display showing live footage of the Odyssey. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with intensity. He knew exactly what needed to be done. Marcus dialed another number, this time connecting directly to the corporate headquarters of the cruise line operating the Odyssey. When the call connected, he didn't waste time exchanging pleasantries. This is Marcus Johnson, he said firmly, his deep voice cutting through any attempt at small talk. I want everyone involved in that incident with my daughter fired. Immediately. On the other end of the line, executives scrambled to respond. They tried to explain, to justify, to negotiate. But Marcus wasn't interested in excuses. If you don't handle this right now, consider our partnership over, he warned. No more AI systems from my company. No support. Nothing. The threat carried weight. Marcus's tech conglomerate supplied critical artificial intelligence software, used not only by the cruise line, but also by countless other space travel companies. Losing his support would cripple their operations and potentially ruin their reputation. The executives knew they had no choice but to comply. Meanwhile, aboard the Odyssey, news of Marcus's ultimatum spread like wildfire. Captain Laura Bennett, the seasoned leader of the ship, found herself caught in the middle of a storm. She had been enjoying a quiet evening reviewing flight logs when she received an urgent message from her superiors. Within minutes, she was summoned to an emergency meeting with the senior staff. The conference room buzzed with tension. Ryan Carter sat slumped in his chair, visibly shaken. Gregory Hayes paced back and forth near the window, muttering under his breath about how unfair the situation was. Other crew members exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to say or do. Everyone knew the stakes were high. Laura stood at the head of the table, her posture rigid. She took a deep breath before addressing the group. Listen up, she began, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. We've been given direct orders from above. Effective immediately, anyone involved in the altercation with Miss Aaliyah Johnson will be terminated. Gasps filled the room. Some people looked horrified while others seemed resigned to their fate. Ryan buried his face in his hands, clearly overwhelmed by guilt and fear. Gregory stopped pacing and turned toward Laura, his face red with anger. "You can't seriously hold me accountable for this," he exclaimed. "I was just asking for what I paid for." Laura fixed him with a hard stare. "Mr. Hayes, your behavior contributed to the escalation of this incident. Whether you realize it or not, your actions reflect poorly on all of us. You're part of the problem here." Gregory opened his mouth to argue further, but Laura raised a hand to silence him. "Let me make one thing clear. This isn't just about you or Miss Johnson. This is about the future of this company, and maybe even the entire industry. If we don't take responsibility for what happened, we risk losing everything." As if to emphasize her point, the holographic screen in the center of the room flickered to life, displaying Marcus Johnson's stern face. He addressed the group directly, his tone unwavering. "What happened today cannot stand. Discrimination has no place in space travel, or anywhere else. Those who allowed it to happen must face consequences." The broadcast ended abruptly, leaving behind a heavy silence. One by one, the implicated individuals were escorted out of the room, their careers effectively over. For many, it felt surreal, like something out of a nightmare. How could such a minor disagreement spiral into such catastrophic results? Back in the VIP lounge, Aaliyah watched the events unfold from her seat. News of the firing spread quickly, among passengers, sparking heated debates. Some applauded the swift justice, praising Marcus for standing up against discrimination. Others criticized him, accusing him of abusing his power to punish innocent employees. Aaliyah listened to the chatter, her emotions mixed. On one hand, she felt vindicated. Justice had been served and the crew members responsible for treating her unfairly were held accountable. But on the other hand, she couldn't shake the feeling that her privilege played too large a role in resolving the issue so swiftly. Would the same outcome have occurred if her father hadn't been a powerful CEO? Probably not. Her thoughts were interrupted when her communicator buzzed again. It was Marcus calling to check in. "How are you holding up?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "I'm okay," Aaliyah replied, though her tone suggested otherwise. "But Dad, did you really have to go that far? Those people lost their jobs because of me." Marcus sighed heavily. "Sweetheart, this isn't about punishing them. It's about sending a message. What happened to you wasn't right and it shouldn't happen to anyone else. Sometimes drastic measures are necessary to create real change." Aaliyah nodded, slowly, understanding where her father was coming from. Still, she couldn't help but wonder if there might have been a better way to handle things, a way that didn't leave so many lives disrupted. News of the incident soon reached Earth, turning it into a global sensation. Reporters scrambled to cover the story, and social media exploded with reactions. Headlines blared across news outlets: "Black teen stands up against discrimination in space tourism," and "CEO demands accountability after daughter targeted." Activists praised Aaliyah for refusing to back down, while critics accused her family of using their influence to bully ordinary workers. Amidst the controversy, Marcus decided to dig deeper. He hired a private investigator named Elena Torres to uncover whether the discriminatory treatment Aaliyah experienced was an isolated incident or part of a larger pattern. Elena was known for her meticulous work and unflinching dedication to uncovering the truth. Within days, she uncovered shocking evidence. The reservation system used by the cruise line contained biased algorithms designed to prioritize certain demographics over others. When Marcus learned about the algorithm, he felt a wave of guilt wash over him. His own company had developed the AI technology sold to the cruise line, and he realized he hadn't done enough to ensure its ethical use. Determined to make amends, he announced plans to launch an initiative called Project Fair Sky, aimed at auditing and reforming AI systems used in space travel. For Aaliyah, the experience marked a turning point. Once hesitant to embrace her family's influence, she now understood the importance of using power responsibly. Together with her father, she committed to fighting for equality, not just in space tourism but in every corner of society touched by technology. As the drama unfolded, Life aboard the Odyssey slowly returned to normal. Passengers resumed their activities, marveling at the wonders of the universe outside. But for Aaliyah, the journey had taken on new meaning. It wasn't just about exploring distant planets anymore. It was about paving the way for a fairer, more inclusive future. And, though challenges lay ahead, she faced them with renewed determination, knowing that even small actions could spark monumental change. Elena Torres was not someone who backed down easily. Known for her relentless pursuit of truth, she dove headfirst into investigating the reservation system used by the Odyssey. Her small but efficient office buzzed with activity as holographic screens floated around her, displaying streams of data and complex algorithms. Each line of code told a story, and Elena was determined to uncover the ugly truths hidden within them. Marcus Johnson sat nearby, watching silently as Elena worked. He had hired her because he trusted her reputation, but seeing her in action gave him even more confidence. She moved quickly between the screens, zooming in on certain sections of code and highlighting patterns that seemed suspicious. After hours of digging, she finally turned to face him, her expression grim. "Mr. Johnson," she began, her voice steady but tinged with frustration. "This isn't just an isolated issue. It's systemic." She gestured toward one of the screens, where a flowchart outlined how the reservation system assigned seating based on passenger profiles. At first glance, it appeared neutral, just another piece of software designed to optimize efficiency. But upon closer inspection, Elena revealed something sinister. The algorithm secretly flagged minority passengers for less desirable seating arrangements. It did so under the guise of randomness, masking its bias behind layers of complexity. Marcus leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Are you saying this was intentional?" Elena nodded. "Not necessarily from the top down, but someone programmed these rules into the system. Maybe they thought it would go unnoticed, or maybe they didn't care enough to question it. Either way, it's discrimination baked right into the technology." The revelation hit Marcus hard. As the CEO of the tech company responsible for developing the AI, he felt personally accountable. He had always prided himself on innovation and progress, yet here he was, complicit in perpetuating inequality. His mind raced with thoughts of all the other systems his company had created. How many of them might harbor similar flaws? "I need to fix this," Marcus said firmly, standing up. "Not just for my daughter or the Odyssey, but for everyone affected by this kind of injustice." Elena agreed. "We can start by auditing every piece of software your company has ever sold. If we find biases, we'll rewrite the algorithms and implement stricter ethical guidelines moving forward." With a plan in place, Marcus wasted no time. He called an emergency meeting with his executive team, determined to make sweeping changes. When he walked into the boardroom, the tension was palpable. Executives exchanged wary glances, unsure of what to expect. Marcus didn't mince words. "What happened on the Odyssey exposed a flaw in our work. A flaw I take full responsibility for," he declared, his voice echoing through the room. "Our AI systems are being used to discriminate against marginalized groups, and that ends now. Starting today, we're launching Project Fair Sky. We'll audit every product, rewrite biased algorithms, and ensure nothing like this happens again." The announcement was met with mixed reactions. Some executives nodded in agreement, acknowledging the importance of ethical responsibility. Others, however, weren't convinced. Among them was Victor Lang, a high-ranking board member known for his cutthroat business tactics. "This is ridiculous," Victor snapped, slamming his fist on the table. "You're throwing away profits for some feel-good initiative? Do you have any idea how much this will cost us?" Marcus stared him down, his jaw tightening. "Yes, I do. And if that's the price of doing the right thing, then so be it. I won't let our company contribute to systemic racism. Not on my watch." Victor scoffed, shaking his head. "Fine. Go ahead and destroy shareholder value. See how long you last when profits drop." Despite the pushback, Marcus refused to back down. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he also knew it was necessary. With Elena's help, he assembled a team dedicated to Project Fair Sky. They worked tirelessly, combing through thousands of lines of code to identify and eliminate biases. It was painstaking work, requiring both technical expertise and moral courage. Meanwhile, Aaliyah continued to grapple with her own feelings about the incident. While she appreciated her father's efforts, she couldn't shake the sense that justice shouldn't depend on privilege. Determined to make a difference, she reached out to Elena, asking how she could help. Elena welcomed her involvement, recognizing the power of Aaliyah's unique perspective. Together, they began documenting personal stories from individuals who had faced discrimination in space travel. These testimonials painted a vivid picture of the challenges minorities encountered, from being denied access to premium services to enduring outright hostility from staff. The resistance began quietly, almost unnoticed at first. Former employees of the Odyssey, now unemployed due to the mass firings, found solace in shared anger. What started as scattered complaints on social media soon grew into something much larger, a coordinated effort to fight back against what they saw as corporate bullying. Ryan Carter was one of the first to join the movement. After losing his job, he struggled to find new work. Space travel companies were hesitant to hire someone, labeled as part of a discrimination scandal. Feeling trapped and bitter, Ryan reached out to others who had been fired alongside him. They formed an online group, initially just to vent their frustrations. But as more people joined, their discussions turned toward action. Gregory Hayes also became involved, though reluctantly at first. He had returned home after the incident, humiliated and furious. His reputation as a wealthy traveler took a hit when news outlets painted him as the villain of the story. At first, he tried to distance himself from the controversy, but the growing backlash forced him to take a stand. When Ryan invited him to join the group, Gregory agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to reclaim control. Their meetings often took place in virtual chat rooms or private forums, hidden from public view. One evening, they gathered in a dimly lit bar in a futuristic city. Holographic neon signs flickered above them, casting eerie glows across their faces. Around a circular table sat Ryan, Gregory, and several other former crew members. Their expressions ranged from angry to defeated, but all shared a common goal: revenge. "We can't let this slide," Ryan said, leaning forward. His voice was low but intense. "Marcus Johnson ruined our lives. We need to make sure everyone knows the truth." Gregory nodded, swirling the remnants of his drink. "He made us look like monsters. People think we're racists, but that's not what happened. We were just doing our jobs," another member chimed in, her tone sharp. "It doesn't matter what really happened. All anyone cares about is the narrative. And right now, Marcus and his daughter are winning. That's why we have to change the narrative," Ryan replied, gesturing toward a hollow screen hovering above the table. It displayed screenshots of viral posts criticizing the firings and accusing the Johnsons of abusing their power. "We start by showing the world how unfair this whole thing is." The group devised a plan to launch a smear campaign against the Johnsons. Using anonymous accounts, they flooded social media with accusations targeting Aaliyah specifically. Posts claimed she was spoiled and entitled, using her father's wealth to punish innocent workers. Memes mocking her circulated widely, and hashtags like privileged teen and justice for crew trended briefly. At first, the campaign gained traction. Supporters of the fired employees rallied behind the hashtags, sharing stories of their own struggles with corporate overreach. Critics of Project Fair Sky seized the opportunity to attack Marcus, arguing that his initiative was nothing more than a publicity stunt. For a while, it seemed like the tide might turn against the Johnsons, but Aaliyah refused to stay silent. With Elena's guidance, she crafted a thoughtful response to the backlash. Instead of lashing out, she focused on amplifying the voices of those who had faced similar discrimination. She posted videos sharing testimonials from marginalized travelers, highlighting the systemic issues plaguing space tourism. Her calm and empathetic approach resonated with many, countering the negativity spread by the resistance. As the battle played out online, tensions escalated offline as well. Victor Lang, the skeptical board member from Marcus's company, saw the resistance as validation of his concerns. He used the controversy to rally other executives against Project Fair Sky, framing it as a costly distraction that alienated shareholders. During a heated board meeting, he presented graphs showing declining profits and argued that the initiative needed to be scaled back. "You're letting emotions cloud your judgment," Victor told Marcus, his tone dripping with disdain. "This isn't about ethics, it's about money. If we don't prioritize profits, we'll lose everything." Marcus clenched his fists under the table but kept his composure. "I understand your concerns, Victor, but I won't compromise on this. Our responsibility goes beyond profit margins. We owe it to the people affected by our mistakes to do better," Victor sneered. "Fine, then don't come crying to me when the board votes you out." Despite the mounting pressure, Marcus remained steadfast. He leaned heavily on Aliyah and Elena for support, drawing strength from their determination. Together they worked tirelessly to push Project Fair Sky forward, auditing algorithms, rewriting code, and implementing new ethical guidelines. Slowly but surely, progress began to show. Back in the resistance camp, cracks started to form. Some members grew disillusioned with the smear campaign, realizing it wasn't achieving its intended effect. Others worried about the legal implications of their actions, fearing lawsuits from the Johnsons' powerful lawyers. Ryan, however, refused to give up. He doubled down on his efforts, convinced that victory was still within reach. One night, during another meeting at the underground bar, Gregory voiced his doubts. "Maybe we should stop," he suggested hesitantly. "This isn't working, and honestly, I'm tired of being seen as the bad guy." Ryan slammed his fist on the table, startling everyone. "No, we can't quit now. They've taken everything from us, our jobs, our dignity. If we give up, then they win." His words hung heavy in the air. Though some nodded in agreement, others exchanged uneasy glances. The unity that once bound them together was beginning to fray. Meanwhile, Aliyah continued to inspire change. She traveled to conferences and spoke passionately about the importance of diversity and inclusion in technology. Her speeches earned her praise from activists and industry leaders alike, further solidifying her role as a champion for equality. Through it all, Marcus watched proudly as his daughter stepped into her own. He realized that the incident aboard the Odyssey had transformed her, not into someone defined by privilege, but into someone determined to use her platform for good. Together, they proved that even in the face of adversity, meaningful change was possible. Though challenges remained, the Johnsons pressed on, knowing their work was far from over. The fight for fairness in space travel was just beginning, and they were ready to lead the charge. Months passed, and the impact of Project Fair Sky began to ripple across the galaxy. Governments, corporations, and space travel organizations took notice of the initiative, recognizing its importance in shaping a fairer future. New regulations were introduced, requiring stricter audits of AI systems to ensure they operated without bias. Companies that had once resisted change now embraced transparency, eager to align themselves with the growing movement toward equality. For Aliyah, Johnson life had changed dramatically since the incident aboard the Odyssey. She was no longer just a teenager enjoying a luxury vacation. She had become a symbol of resilience and justice. Her story inspired countless others to speak out against discrimination and demand accountability from those in power. With each passing day, she grew more confident in her ability to make a difference. One evening, Aliyah found herself back aboard the Odyssey, this time as an honored guest invited to speak at a gala celebrating diversity in space exploration. The ship's VIP lounge, where everything had begun, felt different now. It wasn't just because of the festive decorations or the buzz of excitement among passengers. It was the sense of purpose that filled the air. People from all walks of life mingled freely, united by their shared vision of a better tomorrow. As Aliyah stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted into applause. She wore an elegant dress adorned with subtle metallic accents, reflecting the shimmering lights around her. Her gold hoop earrings caught the glow of the holographic screens behind her, which displayed breathtaking images of distant stars and galaxies. Taking a deep breath, she smiled warmly at the audience before beginning her speech. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she said, her voice steady and clear. "When I first boarded this ship, I never imagined it would lead me on such a transformative journey. What started as a simple trip turned into a lesson about fairness, responsibility, and the power of standing up for what's right." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I won't pretend that my experience was easy. Facing discrimination isn't something anyone should have to endure, and neither is losing your job because of someone else's mistake. But through those challenges, I learned something important. Real change doesn't come from anger or revenge. It comes from understanding, collaboration, and a commitment to doing better." The audience listened intently, captivated by her sincerity. Aaliyah went on to share stories of the people she had met during her advocacy work, travelers who had been mistreated, employees who had lost faith in the system, and innovators striving to create ethical technology. Each story highlighted the need for systemic reform and reminded everyone present of the work still ahead. "Project Fair Sky isn't just about fixing algorithms," she continued. "It's about changing mindsets. It's about ensuring that every person, regardless of their background, feels welcome in space, because space belongs to all of us, not just the privileged few." Her speech ended with a standing ovation. Passengers cheered, some wiping away tears as they applauded her courage and determination. For many, Aaliyah represented hope, a reminder that even in the face of injustice, individuals could spark monumental change. After the gala, Aaliyah joined her father, Marcus Johnson, on the observation deck. Together they gazed out at the endless expanse of stars, their reflections visible in the panoramic windows. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with unspoken pride and gratitude. "You've done incredible things, sweetheart," Marcus said finally, breaking the quiet. "I'm so proud of you." Aaliyah smiled softly. "We did it together, Dad. None of this would have been possible without you, or Elena, or everyone else who believed in us." Marcus nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Still, you carried the weight of this fight on your shoulders. You turned a painful experience into something meaningful. That takes strength." Aaliyah looked down at her hands, remembering the moments when doubt had crept in. "There were times when I wondered if we were doing the right thing. Firing those crew members felt harsh, even though it was necessary. And dealing with the backlash, it wasn't easy." "But you stayed true to your values," Marcus replied. "That's what matters most. Change is messy, and it's hard, but it's worth it." As they stood side by side watching the cosmos stretch infinitely before them, Aaliyah reflected on how far they'd come. The resistance led by Ryan Carter and Gregory Hayes had fizzled out, unable to sustain momentum in the face of overwhelming public support for Project Fair Sky. Many former crew members had since found new jobs, thanks to training programs funded by Marcus's company. Even Victor Lang had softened his stance, reluctantly admitting that the initiative had improved the company's reputation. Looking ahead, Aaliyah knew there was still much to be done. Space tourism was only one piece of a larger puzzle. Discrimination existed in countless industries hidden beneath layers of tradition and complacency, but she also knew that progress was possible, one step at a time. Before leaving the observation deck, Aaliyah glanced back at the stars one last time. They seemed brighter now, twinkling with promise. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that her journey was far from over. Whether through technology, policy, or simply raising awareness, she vowed to keep fighting for a world where everyone could explore the universe without fear of prejudice. And so, as the Odyssey glided silently through the vastness of space, Aaliyah and Marcus returned to their seats, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they had proven that even the smallest actions could ignite profound change. The horizon stretched endlessly before them, full of possibilities, waiting to be discovered.